The extra of wrath. He was a man of the soil, an old-school patriot as a farmer. He hadn't just harvested corn and wheat. He had harvested the certainty that God, hard work, and the right vote guaranteed a good life. He had kept his wife and 3 children fed. It wasn't wealth, but it was an honest life under a vast, blue sky. His faith was as firm as the Texas dirt. In his world, there was good and evil, angels and demons. He had been told that the others, the leftists, were monsters who drank the blood of the innocent to live forever. He had believed it, because an enemy gives pain a mailing address. But when his party's victory was finally won, it wasn't salvation that arrived, but darkness. The promises of the powerful mutated into perverse caricatures first. The medicine disappeared behind walls of gold. Then came the cancer. It ate its way through his wife, then his children. On his birthday, the unthinkable happened. At the exact second he had first seen the light of day decades ago, death extinguished the light of his family, for breath stopped in the same heartbeat. Something deep inside him, the part called hope, snapped with a dry crack. The crops withered. ICE agents had chased away the cheap hands, and no one else was willing to kneel in the dust for the starvation wages of wrath. He stood alone in a graveyard of dried stalks. Bitterness became his only bread. A year later, he stepped out of the shadows. The day of reckoning had come. He wore a borrowed Armani suit. The fine fabric felt like treason against his weathered skin. Over it, a black trench coat concealed the sawed-off shotgun, the Luger, and the titanium knife. He was a walking armory of despair. He had expected walls, bodyguards, and bloodshed at the entrance. But the building welcomed him like an invited guest. The doors stood wide open, unguarded, almost beckoning. This arrogant security made his blood boil. He strode into the ballroom. In the distance sat the president, fleshy, bloated, and smug. A clown sat at his feet, reciting nursery rhymes, a grotesque parody of power. 100 paces separated him from his target. He marched across the parquet floor, right through the couples. The guests danced to music he couldn't hear. They moved like mechanical dolls, with fixed eyes and empty smiles, soulless zombies in silk and tow. They looked at him, but they didn't recoil. He pulled the shotgun. The world seemed to freeze in slow motion. He aimed at the center of corruption. The first shot whipped through the hall, but the lead seemed to avoid the president. The second shot followed, useless, as if the very air were made of rubber. Before he could pull the trigger a third time, the cold precision of security forces slammed him to the floor. No screaming, no chaos. The music played on as he lay on the cold marble, his face pressed into the dust. The bitter truth seeped into his mind. Nothing here was accidental. The open doors, the dancing husks, his own failure. He wasn't an avenger. He was merely an extra in a play written to consolidate the power of those he had sought to destroy. The patriot had sought his revenge, but he had only completed their performance.